Hey, I'm David Raffoff, and today I'm going to be talking about getting your first job as a software engineer. Alright, first let's address the big elephant in the room. Finding a job is hard, it's a lot of work, and there's a lot of rejection, and it's especially hard if you're finding your first job as a software engineer. It helps in this process if you think about it from the perspective of the person who's going to be hiring you. They have a lot of choices, they're interviewing a lot of people. From their perspective, hiring somebody that has a track record is a lot safer than hiring somebody that doesn't. And one thing you want to look for in this process is you want to make sure it's a good fit for you and a good fit for the employer. So I'm going to be giving you a few tips on things you can do to improve your odds and also make sure that you're finding something that's actually a good fit for you and something that you're interested in. So a couple tips here are when you're looking for a job, where do you want to work? Like, think about the industry you want to work in. Think about companies that you respect and you like, whose products you use. Maybe you're a fan of, maybe it's an entertainment company and you're a fan of something they've made, or just think about places you would actually be happy working. And this can come in a lot of different forms. This can be, like I said, something that you're interested in just as a side hobby, a profession that you think is like an exciting profession or discipline. It could be an industry that you think is like a hot industry, a good opportunity for you, or maybe you can get in, early at a company and grow with it over time, or even get some equity in it. So there's a lot of different forms this can take, but what you want to really avoid is going in an interview and somebody asking you, so what do you like about this company, or what do you like about this product, and you just have this blank glazed look on your face. They're not going to be thrilled, even if you are a great fit in terms of your background. That's just going to make things difficult. Also, I mean, why would you want to work somewhere that you don't care about? You're just probably going to be a lot happier if you find a place to work that you're actually interested in. So that's one of my biggest tips. This may sound crazy, but one of the things you need to do for any interview process, but especially if you're just starting out, is be professional. Make sure your resume is up to date. Make sure you're responding to communication from the employer. Make sure that you know something about them. Don't just go in and have no idea who they are or what they do. Just be a professional. Show up on time. You might be doing this in person. You might be doing this online. Just make sure you get there a little early. Especially if you have to travel, I would say travel to the area an hour before you need to be there, 30 minutes before you need to be there. You could get lost, you could have forgotten something at home. Lots of reasons. You don't want to be rushing in or late, which is even worse, to an interview. So just, make sure you're being a professional, make sure you're ready, make sure they're on time, make sure you're dressed appropriately. Don't show up, wearing something you would wear to the pool or whatever. I mean, you really need to make sure you're kind of presenting yourself in the best light possible. Okay, let's talk about experience a little bit. So if you're looking for your first job as a software engineer, one of the things that you're going to have potentially working against you is experience. I mean, there's lots of software engineers out there. Companies have their choice among picking, experienced people, or maybe somebody who's even been doing it for a year that's kind of proven they can do it. So the thing that you really need to show is either be able to show some code that you've written. Ideally, you would have a project that you could walk through and explain what you've done. But even if you have a single class that you've written, or algorithm you've written, or whatever, just something that you're proud of the way it was done, that you could talk somebody through and you could explain the choices that you made, that can really go a long way. I would say a lot of people want to, would want to look at maybe code samples in advance. They may not even ask you for them, so that's something that's good to just provide with, whether it's your cover letter, or you have a link to your GitHub page, or your GitHub profile or whatever, or you may include a link to something you've actually built that's out in production in the wild, whether it's online or an app store or something. But just anything you have, even if it feels like hey, this was a silly student project I did. It's maybe not, everything that you, all the code that you write, you're constantly improving. So, you can be hesitant to share something you've done, but it's still better to share something than to just have absolutely nothing and be going in cold. If somebody gets 100 applications for a job, and a third of them have actual code examples, and a third of those are good, you're basically there's 10% of the people that are already much better off than all the other people that didn't provide those code samples. So that's just always a nice thing to do. Another kind of added bonus if you use something like GitHub is it's really easy to see how active people are and what languages they're writing things in and committing to. So if you know that you do have a lot of activity on something like GitHub that's visible, that's always a bonus. Now, not everybody can show that they have that kind of activity for various reasons, but if you can show it, it's just a nice thing to have. So definitely encourage you to do that. So let's talk a little bit about coding exercises. So coding exercises can take a bunch of different forms. Some places do whiteboard coding exercises, which are probably the most high pressure in my opinion. Some places will have you actually hopefully tell you in advance, but have you sit down and actually use an editor and just walk through example exercise and write out your code, explain why you're doing what you're doing. And some places will just have you say, hey, bring something that you wrote and let's just talk through it. So the objective with all these things is people just mainly want to see how you think, how you would model something, meaning are you gonna write just one giant program, or are you gonna break things up into nice kind of individual pieces? Try to see what kind of trade-offs you're thinking about. There's always performance related decisions to be made, so this is just something to expect. The best advice I can give you is just to explain what you're thinking. Don't try to rush through it. Just take your time, make sure what you're doing is something you're proud of and you're explaining your thoughts as you go, and just know that it could be potentially a little nerve-wracking, but just try to stay as calm as possible as you're going through it. So those are pretty much my tips for dealing with finding your first job as a software engineer. Let me know if you have questions or comments below. I'd be happy to do a follow-up video on anything else that people are curious about. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell to get notified when I make new content, and I'll see you in the next video.